print media one. Read the statement first. First, I want to thank you all for showing up on such short notice. As you probably read in my press release, I believe that Scott McInnis should cease his campaign, actually withdraw his campaign, and his run to be governor of the state of Colorado. And I base this, in my opinion, that in those recent events where he's paid $300,000 to write an article in water law that he turns out he didn't write himself, that it shows that he doesn't have the ability or the skills to lead the state of Colorado, and that the people of the state of Colorado should really question whether Scott McInnis has the trust and integrity that they demand from their governor to lead this great state. And I think when they ask that question at the end of the day, the answer is going to be no. Because we demand a lot from our governor. We demand our governor to be a role model. We demand our governor to be someone that our children will go to. And we tell our children every single day that when you go to school, that you do your work, you don't cheat, you don't plagiarize, that when you say that something is true, it's true. In this case, Scott McInnis is still miserable. And even what's more disturbing for me is not just the plagiarism aspect, it's that when caught, he tries to throw one of his employees under the bus. And as someone who supervises other people, I understand that I have an obligation to be responsible ultimately for the work that they do. And that when things don't go my way, I can't go to the press and say, my staff made me do it. If I'm going to be a leader, I have to take responsibility even for those things that I say someone else would be under me dead. And this is a fundamental question of whether he's fit to lead. And I think he's failed that test. And so I'm open for questions at this point.
Do you think you as a Democrat have standing to tell a Republican candidate what's the right thing to do?
It's not that I'm a Democrat and I lack standing. It's that I'm a citizen of the state of Colorado. And whether he's a Republican running for office or not, he's displayed a certain ability to lead the state because of his actions with this water law.
You're not just the Speaker of the House, you're an attorney. So as an attorney, if you look at what he did as a violation of sort of that code of conduct and it's more than plagiarism, it's possible fraud, it's a reason to question his future standing in the legal community.
At this point, I don't have any reason to question Mr. McInnis' future standing in the legal community. But I will tell you that whenever we have to submit something to the court, that those of us who are litigators, we're responsible for ensuring that we cite everything meticulously. That every single thought that's not ours, every single word that we put in the paper that's not ours, we have to cite it. We have to make sure that when the court sees that they can be assured that we did the right thing.
So as a lawyer, he should know better.
Anybody who's a lawyer or anybody who's in the school and they've had the right papers, we understand that when you write a paper, your professors expect that just to write that paper, that you attribute to yourself, that those ideas that aren't necessarily yours, those quotations that necessarily aren't yours, you need to cite them, you need to attribute them to someone else if they're not yours.
You should return the money, $300,000.
I signed with the Psalms. They've asked for $300,000 back. And the reason they've asked for it back is that when he turned in those papers, he certified it was his original work, that it was in its final form, and that no one else had anything to do with it. They paid $300,000 for that attribution, for that certification. So they're due that money back in my opinion.
They want the money back after an investigation if it turns out to be true. Do you think you should have waited until you find out whether or not this is true?
Yeah, I think the facts at hand are fairly clear in this instance. I mean, based on what I've seen in the Denver Post and in various other news outlets, it's very clear that you have a whole paragraph written by Mr. McInnis. You have another whole paragraph written by Justice Hobbs, and there's really not a difference between the two, except for maybe some changes in some pronouns here and there. But it's very clear that two things were written by the same person, and that's Scott McInnis.
Did you talk to Scott McInnis before you had this?
I don't think I'm in this blackmail. And he's not in mine, so we haven't had a chance to speak.
Have you talked to any other kind of Republican leaders today or this group?
I've had some off-the-record conversations.
Do you anticipate, have you heard anything from those Republican conversations that would indicate this is his plan to step down?
I haven't heard any indication that's his plan. I know Dan Mays has asked for him to exercise some other options. I don't know what that means. But I will raise this one point. Back in, I guess it's 2005 or so, when Gore Churchill incident broke. I remember Governor, and I'm going to cite Governor Bill Owens at the time in the Rocky Mountain News article. Governor Owens said in response to Gore Churchill's plagiarism that he's a plagiarist and a fraud. It'd be interesting to hear what Governor Owens has to say at this point about his friend Scott McInnis and what he did.
Which is worse, using a plagiarized material or throwing your staff around?
Both are equally bad, in my opinion. And there's something interesting about throwing the staff room in classes, because by admitting to that, he's actually saying he plagiarized twice, because he actually told the Hassan family it was his work. So that meant that he plagiarized from the staff room, or he actually plagiarized from Justice Hobbs and then told the truth about it was his staff room. And so he's in a catch-22 here. I don't know how to get himself out of that.
Do you have any idea who first drew these parallels and who recognized, who discovered this plagiarism to begin with?
I don't know. Any other questions?
You brought up Dan Mays as well. Any comments on the improprieties that have been going on with his campaign as well?
I think there was an editorial today that really summed it up really well, that his campaign finance violations do matter, because much like Mr. McInnis, Mr. Mays' violations are a question of leadership, and they're a question about are you going to be open and transparent and accountable to the people of Colorado. And based on his actions, I find it highly unlikely that Mr. Mays will be, if he's ever elected governor, I don't find that happening, if he'll be open, transparent, and accountable to the people of Colorado.
Talk to the mayor about this.
No, I have not spoken to Mayor Hickman, but I'm sure you'll have lots of questions for him.
Do you think that it could be detrimental in the House and Senate races if the Republicans essentially lay down the governor's race and focus their attention there?
I don't think so. I think when you get down to state house and state senate races, people vote on their district. They vote on the neighborhood that they live in. And they're going to look at each candidate in each district, and they're going to make their voting decisions based on that. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for coming down. Appreciate it. Have a good day. See you later.